past, fatal heart impact, past painful scars. In fact, I blast tasteful laws and pass. I back up my actions, fact, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked, attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose, pick a new silver excuse. I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Q Show here, and now, whenever we last left off with this series, we had Junto. And well, it's been a little bit of time since we last left off. It has been 2 weeks since Deku, he's met with the people who sort of worship the next in line Demon Lord. Now, Deku, yeah, he's made them their allies. And in the last 2 weeks, not only has he been learning more of the language himself, he's learning more and more information. On this side of the world, there's information that stems back centuries, if not millennia. And it's very crazy. Now, he's found out things that he didn't really believe were common or at least that advanced. Back in his world, yeah. It's just sort of like that. The place, it does hold the style of, well, at least simplistic design, but it does maintain certain technology. He has noticed that people, they do sometimes have firearms. However, they seem to be different. They're different in design, make, and model, along with what they do fire. There is basic alchemy. There are moving machines. However, these are rarities, if not rarely seen items. Now, people have tried to design things based off of some knowledge he's found in books. However, they don't understand how they work. And that's what Deku does see as an advantage to his people. These machines he feels like he's seen before. They look similar to ones he has known about. So if he does reverse engineer them, he'll have a huge advantage. Now, along with that, Deku, he has been staying in town. Him and Tuska, they have been staying in town and hiding in plain sight. Deku, he's registered with something quite similar to a guild over on this side of the world. You will be paid money to take on missions. It feels more like Deku is working as a mercenary. However, he is perfectly content with that, since the money on this side of the world is not gold. Now, it's an unknown metal he doesn't know too much about. And then there's one that he does believe to either be tungsten or platinum. Now, he's not really too sure, but he is aware that getting this money is very important. Now, we do actually have today where Deku's come back in town with Tuska, and the two, they have completed their mission. As Deku, whenever he does walk into the guild hall, he does go to toss down something on the table, as the person does look down at the severed head of a monster. And they do just go to look back up at him. You know, you could have just brought us its horns. Yeah, but someone would have questioned me about it. They did last time. I see. Well, you should be made aware I am not picking that up that will come out of the fee. I see. Now, Deku does go to bring his hand up, as he does grab the head with his left hand and go to bring up his right hand, as the blood on the table does begin to start coming back up. And the person to just watch that. This man's using blood magic. Now, the ball does form up around Deku's palm, as Deku does then go to grab onto the wolf with his right hand, or this monster's head. Alright, now give it back. I see. Please give me a moment. Now, the person will go to run off, as Tuska does look at her lord. Uh, Junto, how did you just... Don't worry about it. I have my own specific magics. Along with that, blood is 70% water. So there's that. But I thought you had to specialize in blood magic. It's a subclassification. It's one I have worked on before. I specced into it earlier. I was curious about it. It actually is a very powerful skill. I see. It's also quite terrifying. I understand. It freaks me out too. Now, the person will going to set down a bag of coins. As Deku does look down at it and go to pick it up. As he does, know that it feels the right weight. As he is going to turn around and leave. Now, as that does happen, Deku and Tuska do go out to get something to eat and head back to the place they're staying at. Now, nothing really did happen today. Deku, yeah. The information he's reading in some of the books in the inn, or, well, hotel, they're very strange to him. However, the more he does learn, the more he can at least prepare his people. And whenever they do decide to invade this land, things will be a lot easier. Right now, his troops, they're somewhat antsy. However, they're still setting up base camp outside the city. The moment he does give the word, they will head in. And he can at least see if this place is friend or foe. Now, with that being said, Deku, he does get a knock on his door. As he does go to stand up and walk over. As you do have Tuska standing there. Deku actually moving to the side and allowing her in. As she just walk in and they do sit down. What is it? My lord, I'm very curious of a few things. What is it? I've been hearing recent reports of a monster attack. Have you? Yes. I know it goes out of our business and, well, we really shouldn't be getting involved. As you said before, this is not our homeland. However, these monsters attack. It's something strange. Is it now? Yes. I believe it has something to do with... Now, the moment Tuska does go to open her mouth to say the V word, something does happen. Deku, he does hear something. I'm going to spin around as he's going to bring up his hands. And you do actually where something does come smashing through his window. As it does, so it does wrap around Deku's arm, and he does actually go to try and grab down at his left elbow, or the bend in his arm, with his right wrist, as he does try to steady his body to stay on the ground. Now, he does look down to see a chain, and it does find it to be quite surprising, as he does go to summon his own chain spear, and he does tell it to attack whoever is holding the other end. Now, the chain spear does go flying out of the window. As the assailant, they do actually have to leap backwards and tug their chain as hard as they can. As Junto gets sent, flying forwards out of the building. Now, as it is actually having to have in Junto's mind, somebody's using a weapon similar to his own. Now, he does go smashing into the building across the street from the inn. As he does go to stand up and grab onto the chains that are wrapping around his arm, as he does wrap them up in his right hand and pull them off, before at least going to grab firmly onto the other end and tug hard. Now, the chain does quickly I don't know the right phrase for it, but it immediately just pulls on both ends and tightens up quite a bit. As we do have where the person on the other end does let go. Before Deku, he does actually get to hear something. His attention going from the roof to directly in front of him. As he is going to pull down the chain and go to grab his own. Now, the moment he does go to grab his chain, someone does immediately rush towards him. As the man does tackle Deku and the two go falling down three stories into the street. Now, As this does happen, Deku, he does actually watches this man in black armor. He does go to get back up. And Deku does directly go to kick him across the chest with his leg as hard as he can. As the man, he is sent hurtling over Deku. And Deku does go to spin around and go onto his feet. Going to stand back up. As he does bring his hands out and go to summon both of his swords. Now, everyone does watch Junto, and many people are quite confused. That guy can't be who they think he is. He has two of those things. And, well, that guy who's attacking him, that can't be who they think it is. If this is really happening, they need to get the fuck out of here as fast as they can. Since that is somebody no one wants to mess with. And if that guy is his target, he is as good as dead. Now, you do actually have the man, he does come to walk out, as Deku does see him. The man is a large 8-foot tall beast man, and Deku is kind of surprised. This guy looks human. So who the hell are you? That's none of your concern. Really now. It ought to be, since you kind of attacked me. I can tell you're different. So, would I be right to assume you're a commander? A commander? Is that what you see us as? Maybe. I'm here for information, and I don't care if I have to torture you to get it out of you. Torture. Such a mundane little thing such as that? Tell me, what do you want to know? If you're just going to give up the information so easily, I'll just have to kill you and find something else to entertain myself. I'm here to know where that little man went off to. Little man? I've heard rumors that he ran off to the human realm. Is that true? Oh, you mean him. I killed him. Ah, that's no fun. You killed our traitor for us. You know, he wasn't very respected among us because of his blood. I see. So it would be right to assume that you are a pure demon. Pure is a rather touchy subject. Now, Deku does watch the man, as he does go to start transforming. And you do actually have Tuska, who does go to look down at this man, as he grows to be 10 foot tall, and Deku does watches his armor. It is, well, you could say, moving around his body. Deku doesn't know the best way to explain it, but that thing that he's wearing, whatever it is, it seems to be alive, or at least somehow sentient. Now, the guy does go to bring his hand up to his back, as he does pull off a giant sword. And Deku, he does see that. That thing looks pretty interesting, if he does have to say so. The guy literally basically has it connected to a log, since it's just large. Now, the man does go rushing forwards, as Deku does bring up his blades and go to cross them into an X, catching the man's large sword as the guy does go to bring up his left leg and kick Junto directly in the stomach. Now, Junto, he does get sent flying backwards, a few of his ribs immediately cracking as he does go to try and bring his legs downwards. Now, he does stab one of his swords directly into the ground, as he does go to lunge forwards and step off of one of his legs with, well, enough power to send him flying forwards. As Deku, he does do one simple little thing. He believes that this man might be the first person he's ever met to be physically stronger than him. So, he has to do one little thing. He activates strength magic. Now, the moment this aura does begin to start glowing around him, Tuska, she does see it. If she's correct, she knows what that is. And you do actually have Deku, who he does go to bring up one of his blades as he does send out a darkness slash at full power. Now, the moment this thing does go splitting through the air, it actually does create enough force to send a lot of people flying in multiple directions. As the man does go to bring up his sword and bring it out flat, as he does try to block the attack. Now, the man does get sent flying backwards. After the attack does punch into his sword and it does go flying off. Now, to anyone who is confused to basically what happened with the amount of force, imagine it being 20 to 50 times stronger than what All Might sent flying during the final exams. Now, Deku, he does just look at the amount of force he struck out with that one attack, as he does go to bring up his other hand and go for an overhead slice. Now, the man, he does want to go and rush Deku. However, he does know that if he does go to do this, that can cause quite a bit of problems. Now, he does just stay stationary, as he does go to bring over his hands onto the ground and begin to start using his own magic. Now, we do actually currently have Deku, after he sends out the large attack, and he does just go to stay in position, holding both of his blades. Now, the attack, it does send a lot of people flying through the air, as the onlookers, they are immediately killed from the force. And Deku, yeah, he can feel that number of death rapidly rising, and he knows he should be holding back. However, that's not really an option here. He's pretty sure that this guy, he is a commander. Now, as Deku does go to think that, you'd actually have suddenly just come flying through the back of his shoulder. And Deku, yeah, he looks down to see that a chain, it currently is through his arm, as it does go to at least melt down and transform into something. As Deku, he does look down at that before going to try and bring up his hand. Now, this is where more chains begin to start splitting into his body. And the man, he actually does go to bring up his hand as he does rip the chains out of the ground. And he does go to try and pull Junto directly at him. Now, Junto, he is holding his body backwards, as he does have chains in his arms and legs, and he's being pulled forwards. Now, you do actually where he does go to grab away at the chains and bring them all up together, as he does start to pull with his own strength. And the man, he is actually slowly pulling Junto close to him. Deku's breaking apart the ground as he's moving. And you can actually tell that the man himself, he's having a lot of trouble. Before, he just does go to do one simple little thing. He brings up the chains and waves them out into the air, before going to slash them down towards the ground. Now, as it actually does happen, you actually have in Junto's shoulders, the chains do go pulling upwards out of his body, along with the ones in the front of his knees. And Deku does actually feel a lot of pain from that, as he does go to drop forwards. Now, the man, he does go to rush in, directly towards Deku, as Deku does do one little thing. As he's directly down to the ground, he does take a handful of dirt. As the man is directly in front of him and going to bring up a large slash, Deku, he does split into two, as one Junto does go to throw up a handful of dirt directly into the man's face. As another one, it does go bring up its own sword, as it does go to directly stab into the man. Now, as it does stab into the man's face, it does go directly through the eye, and through the back of his head. As Junto, he does go spin the blade and cut off the man's head, before grabbing it and jumping directly off. As the two Juntos do stare at each other for a minute, and they do actually watch as the man's body does continue to move, as it does begin to start continuing its own assault. Now, Deku, he is quite surprised by that. What the fuck is this thing? Now, Tuska was quite horrified. The man, he isn't regenerating. His body doesn't seem to be taking the damage, you could say. He doesn't really even know he's dead. What is this man? Now, Deku does actually watch as the armor It is going to come up towards the man's neck and it's going to cover over where his head used to be. At least the top portion where his brain is now covered. Meanwhile, the lower half is still there. And Deku, he's very confused, as the man does go to open his mouth and talk. Now, Deku's very disgusted by that. However, he's curious. Now, the man does go rushing forwards, as both Juntos do look at each other. One holding two blades as the other one is holding one. And they do go rushing in for an attack. Now, one of them does have an idea, and he does know that it might be a little risky. He needs to focus, and well, it's going to be bloody, you could say. Now, you do actually have the fake Junto, who does have the one sword. He does go rushing in and go to directly grab the man's blade as he does go to swing it down, as he's holding it back and using strength magic to push upwards against it, as the blade is digging into his hands. As you actually have the real Junto going to bring up his hands as he does do one simple thing. He creates mana water, as he does send these blasts flying through the air and directly piercing into the man's skin. As he does so, he actually does have where his mana water does begin to start mixing into the man's body with his blood. And Deku does directly go to bring his hands up and ball them into a fist, as he does swing his fists past each other, and the man's body does begin to start flooding with spikes. Red spikes do begin to start pouring out of the man's body, his arms, his gut, and well, where his heart is, along with even piercing through his armor. Now, Deku does watch that, as Tuska, she's looking on in horror. And Deku does just do one little thing. He brings up his hands, and he does start to do one thing. He opens his hands, and the man does explode. Now, Deku, he does feel a bit more satisfied with his work. Okay. 2 down, he doesn't know how many more to go. Now, Deku, yeah. He is aware that that was a lot tougher than the other guy. The other guy's supposed gimmick was he was virtually unkillable, by conventional means. However, this guy posed an actual challenge. Deku had to go full throttle from the start. That's not very good. Now, Deku does check to see if anything did change, as he does look at his kill count. Now, Deku's kill count, which is at 43 million, it did not move up very much. As far as he's aware, that's about what? 100,000, 200,000 more people added to it? That's not too good. Now, you do actually have Tuska, who should come running out to see her lord. Her looking at Junto as there are holes in his arms that are currently healing, along with even the front of his legs. Her looking down at those and asking him if he's alright. Oh no, I feel like shit, however we should get moving. Now, Junto does go to pick up a direction and start to run, as Tuska, she is going to follow him. The further away they are from this area of the city right now, the better. Since, yeah, it's all torn up. Some houses and areas are destroyed. There's holes in the ground, and at least a couple buildings were caught in the crossfire. Now, we actually do have the vampire that has been observing and at least attacking people at night, who they do actually go to land on the spot where Junto was standing outside, bringing their hand down and at least running their finger along a line of blood, as they do go to bring it to their mouth and give it a taste. Now, they're quite surprised. That is very interesting, as the vampire, she does get to turn around, looking at where the body of the man was, asking if it's still there. Now, you do actually have where a creature does come out, or at least outside of one of the limbs, as the vampire does go to reach her hand down and tell it that they need to keep moving. And if it's just going to waste a host like that, then it needs to find something better. Now, she does bring her hand down as the thing does go to at least cover her arm, and it does form a gauntlet. Now, she does inform it that she's only going to hold it until it can find someone new. Otherwise, she's going to kill it herself. Now, she immediately does go and jump up into the air, since she needs to get out of here as well. Now, with that being said, the vampire, it does continue its surveillance. It was told to see if he would save people. However, during that fight, he killed a lot, and it seems like he had no regard for life. This man is very interesting. Quite the contrary to the previous statements they heard about him. He was a hero, a symbol. He was somebody who was a saint, just like the hero. However, his actions just now proved to her that that wasn't true. So, she's just wondering if she has to establish direct contact and see for herself. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. We'll catch you guys in the next part.